एकम अक्षरम निरंतरम आसते स्वयं लिप्यते हृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलम आत्मरूपे प्रविविश मनसा चिन्वता मुज्जता पवन चलन रूपा आत्मनिष्ठो देहं जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो मोहं तत्सद्भावशक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव ओहं भावय कुतो मदधिय दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोहं पूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं Namo Ramana. In this, our Thursday satsang, it has been our practice in Ramanacentre for learning to select two verses from the work Guruvachika Kovai. The work is rendered by Muruganar Swamigal. The two verses are selected randomly by Revatima. We read each of these verses. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of Atma Ucharam for about 15 minutes. After these two segments of verse reading, short meditation on meaning, and the practice of Atma Ucharam, self-enquiry, there will be summing up of the two verses by Venkatesh Deshpande, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramana Stotram. The verbal chanting will be by Vaibhavji and Pratnama online. And The floral offerings shall be by Manjunathji from right here. We begin this satsang by going to the first verse selected for us, verse number 55. Verse number 55 obviously is in the first segment, investigation into truth. The second segment, after investigation into truth or discrimination between Satya and Asatya, the second segment will be meditation on the truth or Vichara. And the third segment will be experience of the truth or Anubhava. So in the first segment, we find the verse number 55. In the sub-segment, the reality of the world, or rather the opposite of that, the reality of the world is the segment, sub-segment under which we find verse 55, the world scene, SCENE, the world picture, the world scene or world picture that unfolds like a dream is nothing other than the mind, a deluded perspective. The world scene that unfolds like a dream is nothing other than the mind, a deluded perspective. Its true nature, that is the true nature of the world, its true nature will appear as it really is only to the true awareness. The true nature of the world, whatever it is, will be appearing only to the true awareness. What is this true awareness? The true awareness, the distilled being consciousness that shines, transcending mind maya. I'll read that in one go. The world scene that unfolds like a dream is nothing other than the mind, a deluded perspective. Its true nature will appear as it is only to the true awareness, the distilled being consciousness that shines, transcending the mind maya. So it's a beautiful verse which takes us from the inquiry into the world to the being consciousness, which is itself the reality of the world. Let's go through that a little bit. What is it that is said here? That the world is unreal is not being directly posited, but the world scene unfolds like a dream. So Bhagavan's teaching that treat it like a dream. What is the adhara for Bhagavan saying treat the world like a dream? Is that the mind is the adhara for the waking and dream states. Adhara, not the real adhara. For these two states alone, they cannot appear without the mind. The waking state and the dream state. So the first job Bhagavan gives is what appears so solid and real, real possessions and real security for us that we are safe if we get this house better than that house. Where is security in that? You go to sleep and it is not there. Where the mind is not, the waking state and dream state, they vanish in deep sleep where mind is not. So the waking state, the world, you should treat it like a dream. It is an unfolding dream, which is a perspective of the mind, which is a deluded perspective of the mind. Why deluded? Because mind itself is an unreal instrument which is present in waking and dream, but vanishes in deep sleep. The moment the jiva consciousness loses energy to stay in waking or dream, it slips into deep sleep. In that level of consciousness for the jiva, the powerlessness of it the world is also not appearing, dream is also not appearing. So both the waking state and dream are deluded perspective of the mind. Then what will be the reality of the world and how it will be revealed? Its true nature will appear as it really is only to the true awareness, the distilled being consciousness. What is this distilled being consciousness? See, the I has being, but when it chases thoughts, it forgets about its being and it chases beyond the deluded perspectives. The moment mind raises its mind and chases thoughts, it is in deluded perspective. So, how does being consciousness come about? It comes about by Atma Vichara. When the other comes, either as the waking state object or the thought object, we should inquire for whom is this. If you gain the strength of tapas by looking at the thought objects and letting them go, you will be able to stay centered in the self even in waking state. The waking state sensory objects, you will understand they don't have the power to attract the consciousness. So consciousness has to learn to free itself from thoughts and focus on its being consciousness. Being consciousness means I am. Sadbhava. Bhava shunya sadbhava. Bhava shunya sadbhava sustitihi. Bhavana balad bhakti ruttama. Bhava shunya sadbhava. Whenever a bhava arises, thought arises, let it go. For whom is this? Sadbhava. You are existing, isn't it? Whether that thought is there or not there, you are existing. Therefore, how to distill the being consciousness from consciousness of the other? How can consciousness distill its own being? By letting go of the other. Whenever the other appears as a thought, have the viveka that if I follow it, I will fall into delusion as though there is another. It is all made of the same stuff called being consciousness. But the moment it becomes thought energy, it becomes split up as many, the I and the others, which is the delusion. So Bhagavan says, whenever the other arises as thought, take the tapasvic strength, bhava bala, go to bhava shunya. Eliminate that thought. For whom is this thought? For me. Who am I? You will come to sadbhava. Sadbhava is always there. You should distill this consciousness till when? Till you will understand that the world is only this being consciousness. World really is not there as something you can grasp and take security from. It is really not there. It is there only when you rise as thought and senses. Whereas what is ever present? What is ever present is only the sadbhava, the being consciousness. The reality of the world is nothing but that. The causeless, effectless being consciousness. There is no cause in it. There is no effect in it. There is no janma in it. There is no marana in it. There is no appearance in it. There is no disappearance in it. And you are that. Till that, you have to distill the consciousness from chasing the thought to being consciousness. That's what we are going to practice for the next 15 minutes. Whenever thought appears, let's not pursue it, but diligently ask, for whom is this thought? The answer will always be, this thought is for me. Distill by asking, who am I? Ujjalji, we can set the time.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by going to the second verse selected for us. Verse number 856. 856. We find this in the segment Meditation on the Truth. The subsegment is the destruction of the ego. The destruction of the ego. The verse number is 856. It is impossible to merge in Shivam except through the loss of the self, the death of the ego. It is impossible to merge in Shivam except through the loss of the self, the death of the ego. 856. The sprouting forth of the ego, I, between the inert body and consciousness is the cause for the loss of the heavenly bliss, whose nature is the peace that is innate to all. The sprouting forth of the ego, I, between the inert body and consciousness is the cause for the loss of heavenly bliss, whose nature is peace that is innate to all. Kaivalyam, oneness, that state of Indra which has been lost through pramada, cannot therefore be regained except by slaying the usurper of that state, the asura, vrittira, the profitless ego that rises repeatedly as I. Kaivalyam, oneness, the oneness of Shivam, that state of Indra which has been lost through pramada, forgetfulness, cannot therefore be regained except by slaying the usurper of that state, the asura, vrittira, the profitless ego that rises repeatedly as I. Vrittira is Indra's arch enemy in the Purana. He is probably used as an example here because before his final death, he caused trouble to the king of the Devas over a long period of time. And the word vritti means mental movements. So there is a verse in Ulladu Narpadu which says, Jadavudal நான் என்னாது சச்சித்து உதியாது உடலளவா நானொன்று உதிக்கும் இடையிலிது சிஜ்ஜட கிரந்தி பந்தம் ஜீவன் நுட்பமை அகந்தை இச்சமுசாரம் மனம். What is the root cause of all miseries? All miseries can have one root cause, but the kaivalyam cannot have a cause or an effect. The oneness cannot have a cause. If it is caused, then it is subject to birth and death. If the final state is caused by something, so the question is, the bliss, the eternal bliss which is innate to all, is actually causeless and resultless, is beyond cause and result. Now, that is present in all, it is innate to all. But what is it that takes away this bliss, this happiness of the infinite? It is the I thought rising between the limitless consciousness and the body. Usually, misery is said to be in desire or in that or this. But what Bhagavan does, what is the root cause of all desires? The root cause of all desires is the desire to have a separate form, is to have a separate I from the Shivam. The desire to be born is the root of all miseries. So Bhagavan says, don't search for misery in that or this, in some worldly event, that happening. So many Jews being killed by Hitler. Of course, they are all miseries, but they should all be traced to one root cause. I'm not saying they are not miseries, but even the root cause of all that, if the question is asked, why does Hitler do that kind of injury, cause that kind of injury? Somebody else will say that is desire to possess that much. Bhagavan is saying it is because he had this separateness of ego from the oneness of source, and you too have that. It is not that Hitler alone had that and caused that much misery. If you feel separate from your source, you will feel that you are limited and will want this or that, and as a result, you will cause misery to others also. So, what is the root cause of misery? Root cause of misery is the rise of the I thought. That is called as pramada. And the legend of Indra and Vrittira, the Asura is taken. Vrittira is supposed to be the person who has taken away the kingdom of Indra, the happiness of Indra. So we have to, Vrittira is the movement of thoughts. All movement of thought has to be erased by slaying the ego. In sadhana, we will be speaking as though we are speaking from the ego's perspective to inquire into who you are. And in Siddhate, the very rising of the ego is seen as the loss of happiness. You are that fullness of awareness. You are not the ego which is trying to inquire into who am I. You are that fullness of awareness, and not to fall into pramada again, to forget that you are the causeless, you are the effectless, you are there before the beginning of the universe, because universe has cause and effect. That thought-free consciousness does not have cause and effect, and you are that. So identify with that, says Bhagavan. Identify with the causeless source, where the I thought does not arise. There is no birth, therefore no death. There is no bondage, therefore there is no seeking of liberation. That is Bhagavan's teaching. Let us sit in practice for the next 15 minutes. Ujjwalji will trouble you again.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh Deshpande ji give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana sir.
Namo Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jnanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurvakyam, Mokshamulam Guru. Namo Ramana. We have two wonderful verses to do manana on. Let's see what Bhagavan is trying to say here. Now, let us see what our experience is. Now, imagine on a day, holiday, you go and watch a movie. You get into, you say, well, I'm going to go and watch a movie. So you go to a theater, so say an Inox theater, and pay 200, 300 rupees and go in and sit in the balcony seat. And then the movie starts. The movie starts and you watch the movie for 3 hours. It has a interval in between. And when the movie is going on, it seems very, very real. It does not seem that it's not real. It's very, very real. We're engrossed in it. We are crying when there's a very sad scene, we're crying, and when there's a happy scene, we're laughing. Continuously we're so absorbed. Now what happens? The movie gets over. The movie says the end. Then what happens? Lights come on, and then we get up, and then we walk out. Now just imagine this. Just think about this. Now you're walking out of the cinema theater. What is the mind saying at that point of time? Mind is saying, actually, it is saying this is not real. You may say that the movie was good, the movie was bad, or whatever you want to say with your friends or family, whatever it is for a few minutes, but you will finally drop it and say, movie was not real. And then what happens? There's another movie that starts immediately after that. You come out of this theater and there's another movie that starts. Because what is there? There is the mind there. And then you look to the left, there is the shop, one shop, as if it's in a mall. Then you look to the right, there's another shop. And what is happening? It is like the same movie that was happening inside the theater. When you look to the right, one set of pictures. You look to the left, another set of pictures. But what happens? When you come out, you say that this is real. The inside the theater was not real. You're able to drop it. Just in a few seconds or a few minutes, you're able to drop it and say that was just a movie. But you come out into fourth floor or sixth floor, whatever it is, and come out and see the hotel, see the restaurants, and see the shops, and say this is real. Now let's look at what King Janaka did. King Janaka, between his dream and waking, asked the question, is that real or this real? This is something that we also need to do manana on. When we are in the movie theater, we say that, oh, that was not real when you come out. But when we are outside, we say that this is real. So you must inquire like Janaka till you get an answer, till that Ashtavakara comes, till Bhagwan comes. You have to keep inquiring. Hey, is that real? Which I was in the cinema theater, which for 3 hours, is that real? Or this what I'm seeing right now is real? And Ashtavakra will come in that. Ashtavakra who came for Janaka, Bhagwan will come to us. We keep inquiring. You have to have Viveka and Vairagya and say, is that real or this real? And then you will realize, oh, this is another movie that is started. And who's giving reality? I am giving reality. I am giving means what? The mind is giving it reality. But what was the common factor between that body who was sitting inside and the one that is outside, who was watching the movie inside the theater and watching the movie outside the theater? That I amness, that awareness was there in both the cases. The awareness is the truth. But we don't seem to understand it. We are coming out of the cinema theater and saying that this world is true. This Bhagwan is trying to tell us this is another cinema. So from tomorrow onwards, when you wake up, you have to say if you start watching this cinema, when you wake up in the morning, if you are not inward turned, if you are not looking at the self, if your vasanas are pushing you out, remember the movie has started. And started in what? In the cinema of awareness. The awareness is all around, like the screen which was unmoving in the theater. This is the consciousness is that cinema is the non-moving in this whole universe, and the movie has started. So quickly you have to inquire. That's what Janaka did. Is that real or this real? And that's what Bhagwan says, do self-enquiry. When you do self-enquiry, you try and understand, hey, is this movie that I'm seeing right now, which I'm seeing, I'm giving it to reality, is this real or not? And Bhagwan will say, if you keep doing it, he will say, Yahamahamiti sakshat atma rupena bhati. He will say, you are the reality. The cinema that you're seeing outside is also not real. Then what happens? This question of whether that was real or this is real will vanish. And you will realize that only you were real. You, the consciousness was real. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Thank you so much. May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to help us with the chanting? Namo Ramana Vaibhavji, Namo Ramana Pratnama.
Namo Ramana. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चेत् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थळे लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः श्रीराय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ ज्ञानोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः वृन्दिष्टस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्यैकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संगिये नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಗಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ नमो महर्षि। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की
जय।
ನಮೋ ರಮಣ ಅಕ್ಕ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
नमो रमण।
नमो रमण वेंकटेश जी, नमो रमण उज्ज्वल जी, नमो रमण